William Morris, Chapter 5, Reply All. When I first started at William Morris, almost all the IT systems were basically analog. The legendary William Morris mailroom, where Mike Ovitz got his start, was still ground zero for breaking and entering into Hollywood. Here, recent college grads and MBAs pushed mail carts around the halls of the agency, distributing scripts and memos, trade magazines, and incoming mail from around the world. There was no internet. Sure, there were guys at DARPA and JPL sharing information via the World Wide Web, but computers were still in their relative infancy. We didn't have memes. We didn't have trolls. When news was breaking, say an earthquake or celebrity murder, we would all gather in the hallway around the office of one of the more powerful agents who kept a TV perpetually tuned to CNBC and crane our necks, desperately trying to catch a glimpse of the unfolding story. Some agents acted like their business was tied to fluctuations in the financial markets, like they might nimbly adjust their talent bookings to a dip in the futures index at the Chicago Board of Trade. The only true cutting-edge technology at William Morris was the internal email system, where agents and assistants shared a torrential volume of information. Our offices in New York, London, and Nashville were in fact all networked on the system. You had to be some kind of idiot savant to purposely email someone specific in the office in Nashville. I don't remember the exact keystrokes. But you only had to be a total idiot to email the entire organization, LA to London, by mistake. And WMA was full of total idiots. In fact, most of my William Morris orientation and training was geared toward learning how not to do this, because it was the easiest way to get fired. Assistants lived in mortal terror of inadvertently sending an email to the entire network and then finding themselves in front of some firing squad deep in the bowels of human resources. The easiest way to email the entire company was to simply type the word all, A-L-L, into the recipient address box. It may sound unlikely that anyone would type these three letters by mistake, but it's amazing how tempting it felt as your fingers hovered over the keyboard in front of an empty address box. It was like standing on the edge of a precipice where every fiber in your body begs you not to jump, and yet still some part of your brain believes you might. Indeed, that part of your brain believes you will. It believes that despite every rational thought begging you to preserve yourself, your lizard brain is bent on its own destruction. In truth, the real problem with WMA's nascent email system was it had no safeguards to protect you from replying all to some email that came in from an executive with the actual authority to type all into the email address. If one of the bosses, say the CEO, head of HR, or a department head, had typed all, it was entirely too easy to respond to the email without realizing every other person alive on the planet would get a copy of your response. Still, powerful members of the staff did it regularly by mistake. The head of the motion picture department might see an email outlining changes to corporate policy and respond all with total gibberish or a terse no, and then find himself getting summoned for a dressing down in the chairman's office. He got dressed down a lot, but he also made the agency a buttload of money. No one was going to fire him. The assistant who made a crass comment about Tom Arnold, Roseanne Barr's husband, when it was announced that Roseanne would be coming by the office for an agency visit, fared a harsher fate. They got fired, or so legend had it. The meet and greet email, an invite to stop by an agent's office to meet one of the agency's clients, was one of the more common mass emails you might see at WMA in the 90s. A client might come by to shake the trees and look for work. They might come by because they were newly signed and wanted to meet the full team, or they might come by fresh off some victory to feel the full love of the agency entire. In any case, their agent would send out an email inviting, encouraging, begging other agents to put in some face time. This always seemed to me like one of the great perks of the agency business. Molly Ringwald is in Mike Sharesky's office right now. Please stop by and say hello. Matthew Modine will be in the conference room at 2 p.m. to meet the motion picture department. Please make every effort to attend. I loved the idea of getting some FaceTime with my teenage idols, kibitzing over cut-up fruit and pastry, but I would never dare respond to one of those emails. In fact, I wouldn't let my fingers get close to my keyboard when they came in. As effective as the system was at connecting the agency internally, it was incapable of interacting with the outside world. If you wanted a script sent out, for instance, the WMA email system had nothing to offer. Instead, you first had to fill out a copy request form, attach the form to the script, and send it via mail cart to the copying room with a request to be ready by a specific date and time. But no one ever really did that, because everyone always needed that script to go out right now. So instead, you would sprint from your office down to the basement of the building where a guy named Chris, who looked like he probably lived in his mother's basement, hovered over an industrial-style copying machine that looked like something out of Dr. Seuss, burping and coughing out script copies in the cramped, overheated underground space. You'd have to sweet-talk Chris into letting your script cut the queue. The price was usually 15 minutes of listening to him gripe about your boss or the other bosses and their shortcomings or perversions. Somehow the photocopying habits of agents gave Chris a unique window into the psyche and bedroom habits of most people in the building. But to Chris's credit, even when that machine was overheating and he had ink up to his elbows and he'd be screaming like Scotty in the engine room of the Enterprise, "She's breaking up! She's breaking up!" he would almost always, somehow, come through. And that was just the start of it. Now that you had your script, you'd have to run it back to your desk, put William Morris cardstock script covers on it, folded and secured with little brass fasteners called brads, and then create and print a nicely formatted letter to attach to the script. The whole bundle would then go into a crisp manila envelope with a mailing label that you would have to actually type on a real-life frickin' typewriter. But wait, there's more. You would then have to fill out a messenger request form to get someone to drive the package across town to some executive's office at Paramount or some director holed up at the chateau. What is now 3 or 4 clicks on a mouse pad was back then a complex and laborious routine. It's a miracle anything ever got done. Still, even in those early days, we caught a glimpse of the glorious world that might unfold when analog and digital finally merged. I'm talking about June 17th, 1994. I had been at William Morris a full month, and Nicole Brown Simpson had been murdered a few days before. Los Angeles was rocked. There'd been riots in 92, a massive earthquake in January, and now this, a crime of monstrous and horrifying violence in one of the toniest neighborhoods of the city. And then OJ went missing. Everyone was shocked. LA's favorite son seemed to be declaring his own guilt. Nobody wanted it to be true. Everyone wanted an answer. Everyone wanted to know that Orenthal James Simpson was not guilty. Well, at the very least, they wanted to know where he was. We gathered in the hallways, glued to the TVs, waiting with bated breath for an update on his whereabouts. And then the email came in. It came in to everyone. It came in to all. O.J. Simpson's in John Scheinberg's office. Please stop by to say hello. The internet was born.